Hey everybody, and welcome to my N5 series on the SP404 mk2, where I cover a topic in about 5 minutes. Bombay writes in and says, can I process a track in Ableton, for example, only lead synth bus in Ableton using sampler effects by routing the signal from the sample track to the sampler via USB, applying effects, and then sending it back to Ableton? And you can do this, although it can be a little bit tricky if you don't have any additional like USB audio device that has multiple ins and outs that would allow you to create an effect loop or something effectively. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like if you just have your SP404 mk2, and note a few things you're going to want to be careful of, because doing this is certainly easy to create a feedback loop. So my advice out of the box is take your main volume and set it pretty low to start with until you kind of get like used to how you want this to operate and work. But let's do this. We'll create a couple things, and I'm going to talk about a few notes here. So we're going to go live settings, go into audio, and for your input device, you want to select SP404 mk2, and for your output, select SP404 mk2. You're going to notice that it says it has 2 ins and 4 outs. And the important part here is that the 4 outs allows to basically have 2 stereo pairs, and we have 1 stereo for output and then 1 stereo input that we can use. So with this set, I'm going to close this window. I can think about a few different ways, but effectively, I think if we want things to go out, your outputs 3 and 4 are really what I would consider your main out or your Q out. So I would probably come over here if you're using the SP404 mk2 as your main audio device and set Q and main out as 3 and 4. And I'm just going to put this up a little bit. I'm just going to load a break, and we can hear right now it's going to main out. I can barely hear it. So I can bring this up, and you should be able to hear it as well. I can hear my headphones, which tells me it's going through the mixer correctly, which is good. But this doesn't necessarily get us any effects. So, because I can come over to the SP404 mk2. If I go turn the volume down, I can adjust it. But besides that, that's only because I'm going to my mixer output here. So this isn't affecting what Ableton Live is doing for its own internal mixing. So you can use it. It's not going to save you from a feedback loop though. But as you can see, Isolator right now is not doing anything, because we're basically, by using outputs 3 and 4, it's skipping any of the effects and just going straight out the main outs on the SP404 mk2. So next up is, if you want to, just to show you what this looks like, is if we switch this to 1 and 2, now we can't hear anything. And to hear it, I have to turn on ext source. So I can actually now use the effects. So this is probably showing you can certainly do this. Now, the reason why there's a couple of things that are important to know and what will create a feedback loop is if you have ext source on your SP404 mk2 and you have monitoring set to in, it's going to start sending the audio to each other, and they're going to bounce back and forth. So this is kind of like with Koala or other things that people are using. You need to make sure that you don't have both set up for ext source to basically monitor on this device and on the Ableton Live. You don't want the monitoring up at the same time on it for a second device, because they'll just start sending audio back and forth and create a feedback loop. So that's part of the reason why I'm suggesting at least have your main out, go to 3 and 4, and probably your Q out, but you may find that setting Q out to 1 and 2 might work as well. So next up, we want to come down here, and you had said you wanted like a synth line. So let's just go grab, I don't know, let's grab something here. Doesn't really matter what it is. Let's go synths. Let's go bass. We'll find something. Sounds terrible. Maybe that's kind of fun. So we're going to play this. Now, a thing to note, it's already super loud. I'm going to turn it down just so that we're going to do now is switch this. Instead of audio to main, we're going to go audio to ext out. And now it's just going to 1 and 2. So basically what we've done is routed this into the USB inputs on the SP404 Mark II. And I can now verify that it's working by hitting ext source. And I can affect it, use DJ effects looper, whatever. I can do all this fun stuff to play around with it. Now, with this being said, what I would personally do is if you're going to record a sample that you want to record into the SP404 Mark II, just record it, whatever it is. I'm going to hit record just to turn it off. I'm going to come here and I'm going to stop playing this line. And I can play it. It's going out right now, out the main out, and then it is not going to Ableton Live. We can fix that by first, I'm going to turn ext source off to avoid a feedback loop. I'm going to turn monitoring on, and I'm going to hit record. And now it is playing it back into Ableton Live. You can see it over here. So I can go do whatever effects I want. Maybe I want filter and drive. So I can now hit record, add the effects I want, and hit stop when we're done. And I've got this loop here. Now I can go normalize it, adjust it within Ableton Live, do whatever I want. So we'll just turn monitoring off. So I'm trying to be cognizant of not creating a feedback loop. If you have a device that has more inputs and outputs, I would set this up completely differently. But I know a lot of people are getting the SP404 Mark II, and that basically in this type of scenario becomes your audio input device. So thank you for the question. I hope this was helpful for you. Everybody, thanks for stopping by. Keep making music, keep having fun. Remember, if it sounds good, it is good. And keep throwing those questions out. I'm happy to try and do my best to answer things for you guys. Thank you. And peace.